Hello guys, and welcome to part 2 of this video series. In this video we will break down the blockout we've made before into the first iteration of the modular assets for this project. There will be many questions like how large do we want our pieces to be, and how do we break down more irregular and complex shapes into modular ones. I hope that during this video we can solve these problems so that in the next video we can tackle the modeling and later the texturing of our modular assets. So, where did we left off? Um, in between the first recording and the second recording, I made a few small tweaks to the scene. I tried to make it a bit more vertical to push to emphasize the height and the verticality of the scene. It felt a little too flat. In the end, I bring it down a little bit, so it's not too different from the original scene. I also widened this front area a bit, so there's a bit more space for these carpets to hang over. And yeah, not much else has changed. I've also done a little bit more research. Um, I think it would be great if we add a bit more of a dynamic lighting to our scene. I really liked these reference images of these warmer, very high contrast points against the darker areas, but we'll see how that goes. Another reference I found is this Unreal Engine 5 demo. I love all the little details and trims and everything, and how the lighting catches those shapes and shadows. So that's something I hope that we're going to be able to accomplish as well with all the little trims that are in this scene. But I think the overall conclusion from this research is that I might take a little bit more creative freedom with especially the lighting in this scene, instead of trying to stay as loyal as possible to the original source image. But we'll see how that goes. These are questions for later. So here's the scene in Maya. And we have already done a little bit of research in the first episode on how we could break down this scene into modular areas. And one solution would be to really try and make like smaller assets so all these weird integral pieces fit together. But I think that's thinking a bit too complicated. I want to think a bit more in larger shapes. This can be really daunting if you delve right into these details. So what are the first things I think of when making modular pieces? Well, the two most important shapes I think in any environment are wall pieces and door pieces. If we've made those, we try to fill as many spaces as possible, and what will happen is that while you're set dressing with those two assets, eventually you will hit areas where you're needing a third piece or a fourth piece, and that's where you start adding more. Like when you start out with a scene like this, it can be a bit overwhelming. Like, where do I start? Which part do I make first? So yeah, let's just start with those two things. Those two things always occur within a scene like this. Another thing we might think of as well is, do we want to use more traditional basic tileable textures, uh, or maybe something like what's it called? Triplanar mapping, which means that the texture scales individually from the model. This means that it always aligns and you can scale meshes. It has its own downsides. Light maps are a bit more tricky. You have to customize every instance so it fits. So let's for now try and stick to a more traditional approach of making modular walls, which means something like this, where you have these small pieces that tile together like Lego bricks. I think it's also important for the wall piece to keep it square. So if you then later UV it, let's quickly do this. Come on. Why is it not? Okay, that's weird. I've never had that before. All right. Okay, it's not attaching to the other window. So if you would split these, and then stack them together, they would fit perfectly within the 0 to 1 UV space. And then if you make a tileable texture, we know for sure that it'll tile well, because if let's say, how did the menu go? Dang it, this is why I always attach it. One more try. Oh, now it's over there. Does it work now? No, it still doesn't. Let's say it's a little shorter vertically, then this wouldn't work. If you then stack one on top, there would be a disconnect between the textures on the vertical axis because they don't align in the UV space. So for now, let's try and make this square. Also, let's to separate the blockout model and our modular pieces, let's make another material. Let's come over here, make this one a bit darker, and assign that one to this building, so it's a bit easier to read. So yeah, now it's a matter of figuring out how large do these pieces have to be. It's a bit of a guesswork. This seems to be about 2 of these wide. At the same time, I do like to keep these as whole numbers, so 3.9. Let's make it 4. That's pretty neat. It's almost exactly this height. Let's also make a door frame one. Great, so now we have a door and a wall. That's all we need for now. So based on this, let's make the door smaller. Place this in its own folder. Okay, so we can move this over. Something like this. I could also make this just straight up smaller. Also work. So maybe 3 by 3. To keep everything nice and even. Make it 0.25. Yeah, that could work. Okay, so there's a lot going on. So it wants to deleting history. Let's do that for now. Let's also find a pivot point that's the easiest to work with. Right, so this is nice. Obviously, it's not high enough, so let's make one that's like half a height. Let's also make a little index here, a little list of the different objects we have so far. Scrap it. There we go. Now we have a half a wall. What is this? Yeah, so I have a broken mouse. Sometimes it double clicks, and so I have to watch out that it doesn't create duplicates. Is there a way for me to make it so I cannot select this one? Yeah, let's. I know how to do that. I'm gonna take this whole selection, and then I'm gonna make a layer. Call it block out. The color or something. Save. Oh, all right. L underscore for layer. Save. Which one was it? Why can I still? Oh, I think it's because it didn't add the objects. Let's try again. Add selected objects. There we go. It's transparent, read. And now, yeah, now I cannot select it. Now I can only work with these ones. Perfect. So there's still one overlapping here because my mouse is acting up. Let's find it. There we go. Awesome. It's all good now. Yeah, oh yeah, those are. Let's give these names actually. Store wall. Let's group these. Modular. Then to keep it clean, let's do this once more. Let's make a let's copy these, group them, call them instances. This is all just to keep things clean and tidy, so we can always find everything later on. Put the door over there, put the wall over there. Let's copy one of the walls. Doesn't matter that's clipping here because we're never going to see that part. So I'm not going to make the effort of making half a wall there unless we're going to need it later on. And then voila. So now in here it's a bit clearer which is what exactly. Also, I am reconsidering what to do with this part because I really like, where's this photo? Yeah, this photo. I really like how many carpets there are, and I'm considering just covering this whole part up with carpets. But I'm not quite sure yet, so this might change later on. Let's copy this door again. Can I still snap to these vertices? Might actually be a good idea as well to translate that to 0, 0. So if I then snap it to the grid, it actually makes sense later on when we're doing it again in Unreal. This is minus 449, so let's make it minus 5. This is the z-axis. Minus 5 is not enough. Whatever, let's leave that one, doesn't really matter. I'm grabbing the reference again. This part. I'm gonna need a pillar, I think. I'm thinking, could we use the wall there? Make the wall twice as wide. Maybe. Might actually be a good idea. However, maybe not. Like these edges are chipped. I really like that, and I want to have that as well. If we're going to do that into the tileable walls, you're going to see this chipped edge between every wall. So I think it might be better to use a unique, it's called pillar piece for it. Don't want this to be the same height. Let's put that on 3. How is this? So this is another unique thing. Maybe we do want the walls there. Ooh, this is difficult. How do we want to approach this? There's also this smooth transition. I fear we might have to use decals for that, for the transition. That also means that this wall has to be a different one from this wall. I don't know why my that was the issue. Okay. Scale of 0.5 and 0.5. I think that works. Let's call it pillar for now. Or maybe corner. That's what I'm going to call it for now. Let's put it next to this wall. Then stack a few of them on top of each other. Do we want this to continue? You could always push it down into the ground. Might do that. There. I hope this all still aligns somehow. I think we might still use triplanar mapping, so these meshes all align well, but we'll see. For now, let's put it like that. So next this wall, and again, I'm trying to align it sort of onto the grid. That means this wall has to scooch over like a few pixels. For now, I'll try to align with the block out. Next up, these wall bits all have. Why is it making a bunch of duplicates again? So these all have different details and shapes on there, but for now, I think I'll just as a placeholder stick to standard walls, or maybe not. And don't worry too much about the details in these models. It's just about getting the proportions right, the outer shapes. If all goes according to plan, in the next episode we will actually model these out. So there's a window part where the first one, this is a more unique bit, but it's important, so I'll give it its own thing. Call it window. It's kind of unfortunate that in this build there are so many different window shapes. I think that's going to be a big challenge. Maybe it'll help as well to make the block out one a bit more transparent. Maybe not, but let's try that for a little bit, see how that works. So I think we can stick this one a little bit into the wall, because this is going to be different material. Remember, this is a white wall, and then we have this brick wall here, and then I'm going to use a sticker here or something to kind of blend the two. Decal. Scrap. a wall. And I'm doing this in Maya because obviously it's a lot faster. If we have the base down, I'm gonna copy these over into Unreal, and we're gonna do the same process in Unreal, but then use this as a reference, so that's gonna be fairly quick. And one more. That's that one. Oh, door frame again. I'm also constantly checking how well does each wall align with the grid of the Maya file with the world. So if it aligns, might be a good idea to if it's like really close, it might be a good idea to stick to the world axis instead of the blockout mesh, because the blockout mesh is really quick and dirty, and I did not take into account a lot of the more modular things. It was just about getting the shape right, and now it's all about converting that shape into something that's more usable. And then the floor. Let me actually open up the Google Maps thing. I think it's a similar stone. It's a little drop downwards here. Do we want that? For now, I'll leave it out. Maybe I'll add it back in later. So let's add a floor plane. Maybe we also want this to be 3. I should have named this before. I could copy and put it with the others as before. Like this. Let's add this floor. Trying to figure out if this is aligning. Yeah, it's pretty darn close. Now I actually have quite naturally a the intent here, but I think it's... Nah, again, I'm leaving it for now. All right, so we have our floor. Yeah, it's getting somewhere. It's starting to take shape. I'm a little bit quieter this video because I'm actually thinking a lot on how these shapes work. I haven't figured this out yet. I'm doing this as I go along. Now here's a more difficult wall. Okay, I'm trying to set the height to something, trying to make the height so it also fits the world height, like at the whole number. Oh. So it was a little too low on the floor. Come on, there. So now it sits perfectly on this edge. So now if I make another one, I don't have to snap it to the actual wall piece. I can just snap it to the grid. It should still align. Context axis is it's not actually aligned. We want that. Yeah, there we go. So now that's also aligning well. At this point, it's getting a little more difficult because these aren't fitting as well anymore. How should we do this? Maybe I do need to create like half a wall. Moving this for now. This is pretty accurate though. Let's grab one of these pillar things that we used before. There's another window piece. Yeah, for a moment I'm making it just a wall. Might be a bit easier to then work out what to do with it in the moment. This one's going to be scooched over a bit as well, so it also aligns. save. Always important. So we could just do it like this. Maybe that's just the easiest way. Just keep it a bit. It's not. It's perfect as a reference, but again, it's not our most direct reference. It's just this is another location that's very similar to it, so we could just take a little bit of creative freedom there. Let's see if we can align one in here. Two 2.25 should be in the middle. The more we can reuse, the better. So it might be a good idea to copy this part over and place it over here. I really hope my mouse shows up in these recordings. Should have checked that. But yeah, should be fine. Next up, this small window. Use a small window there. Yeah, I'm gonna do this. I think I want these to be the same. Something I am noticing is these windows are extruded. That's some great news because that means I don't have to make a separate frame that has a hole in it for the window. What I could do in this instance is just make this window frame, put it on the front, and then maybe add like a little glowing plane behind it so it looks like there's depth. I think I'm gonna do that. That makes it a lot easier to make these irregular windows. So in that case, I'm gonna make this part a little different. To the side. It's the same with this top window, it's also extruded. Great. So for now, I'll delete that one. It's not quite aligned. Let's move it up. There we go. That one also makes more sense now. Does the character still fit in there? I think that, yeah, the door needs to be a bit higher. I could have made this actual instances. So if I then adjust one of these, all of them will change, but yeah, whatever. This works fine. There we go. Just see how much we can do with just a couple wall pieces, a floor piece, and a door piece. We're coming pretty far. So next, I'm gonna make the gate. Why do we want this to be? Is this actually? Yeah, this is actually 3 wide. And then let's double the height. Actually, it doesn't even have to be so much higher. Okay. 2 of these. Let's turn this into a better looking arc. Actually, first give it the proper width. Now I will select these edges and I will bevel them. So they're about the same width. Again, it does not have to be perfect, because we're going to remake these anyways. But I will try to keep it at least a little bit clean. So I'll just merge these all to the corner, so we don't need all these polygons. And that's that part. Looking at the reference, there is a bit of a little bit of a shape here that I want to include in this segment. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna multi-cut right here. So create a bit of a loop there. Also on the other side. One. Oh, failed. And then I'm gonna take these polygons, subtract these so you only get these front and back faces. And I'm gonna offset it a little bit, like that. Before I do, let's scale these sideways. It's a bit rounder. And then again. Great, so now this is just like in the reference. And extrude this part, just for the fun of it. Since we don't need this line anymore, because if we remove it, it'll become a quad. I'll leave everything else for now. This is make sure that the pivot always remains in a spot that's so it's easy to move it around and align it. Let's call this one. Where are you? Gate. This instance folder is getting really messy, so I might add a few more subfolders. For example, let's grab all the wall bits. So all walls. And then remove all the doors. The gates and doors as well. There, it's a bit cleaner. Next, up this little edge in between the gate and the wall, there's this vertical window. What I could do is make it so it aligns with the gate. Let's see how that goes. I don't know. And then for this one, I am actually going to cut it in half vertically. So do that. Cap it. The reason why I'm making this piece the way it is, because you can also see a similar window up top here. And the space in between here would be about the same as the space below here. So that's why I think this might actually work. So this would be about here. Might have to actually move this in a little bit more even, but whatever. Yeah, so it's probably not going to be exactly like the reference, but I'm going to try and stay pretty close to it. Let's move this inwards so it's aligns with this piece. So if I copy this over, will this work? I don't know. Take one of these. So the top window is a little bit smaller than the bottom one, but I think that's such a small difference. Might actually just keep it like this. And then here's one of those windows that is extruded, so you can just use a wall piece for it and stick it onto the wall. Come on. So let's finish up this wall. Oh, that's actually great news. So I have to move this in a bit so it aligns with the reference more. But I also need to move it in a bit because that way it'll perfectly align with the world grid, as you can see here. So that's great news. Let's do birds with one stone. Let's actually use a half one for that. Another thing we might want to consider is, do we want to create some ornaments on the half wall or not? If we don't want that, we're going to have to figure out how these textures will align. We either have to make a tileable texture that tiles halfway as well, or we're going to have to use triplanar mapping, so it doesn't require UVs. So to my these, there's a little bit of a gap here, and I think I'm going to just reuse this asset. Yeah, that sits tightly in there. Excellent. Move it out a little bit. Oh, that's great. Save it again. Okay, yeah, that works. So there's a little window here. What does that look like in the reference? Oh, it's one of those prison gate things. We might be an idea to put this one there. Kinda like that. As you can see, I'm trying to recycle as much as possible. It's gonna just make it a lot easier. And since this back part is not in the picture, we have more creative freedom. Okay. It's getting there. We're almost there. How did this part connect? Okay, so there's a normal wall there. Do it like that. So that would be an interesting shape. And then we could use this corner piece, maybe. Let's make that one a bit more off-grid. This one is down. So So yeah, there's a bit of overhang here. I want to recreate that. So this needs to align somehow. All the pieces in here as well. I think so. Yeah. No, this one. Let's add them on. Let's organize a bit again. There. Copying the name over. And then to put these in windows. I forgot one is. We even have a window. I don't think so. A window folder. Let's make one. Windows. So we're almost done with the big shapes. Finishing up the final wall. After that, we're gonna add those window meshes that are extruded. And after that, the little bevels. I'm gonna figure out how to do those. Oh. It's already an hour in the recording. Yeah, so it might start to slow down a little bit in future episodes. I might do a part of it and then another part off camera, but we'll see how that goes. Reference. So lower maybe. Great. So there's two big windows here. Make sure they're sort of centered. Let's move this over. And then I'll add this one on top. And we do want these roof bits to sort of align. I mean on the top row. So this needs to be a bit higher. And then we need another row here. And then here we'll have this little detail trim here. It'll fill the gap. But let's also, just for good measure, add a wall behind it. Alright, so that's that. Let's also move these down, so all the roofs align. Right, so the base walls are all in place now. Still a few things. We need to add these arches, big arches here. Okay. This. This is kind of an odd case, because it needs to fit exactly in here. So 7 is not enough. 7.5. Needs to be half. Means that this area isn't quite matching the world coordinates. What happens if we do this? Does it mess up the... Move it back one. We can move this one over. And then move this over as well. So I think now it should actually fit a bit better. 4 is a bit too much. I think maybe not actually. Yeah, might actually go for 4. So there's a height of 9 at the moment. Let's make that 4 as well. Maybe 5. And throughout this whole process of making this modular block out, I'm just thinking about walls, pillars, and doors. You can make 90% of your, and windows maybe. You can make like 90% of your modular assets out of that. Like if you have that, it's really easy to then start to figure out what else do I need. It's not much. Obviously, we still have to figure out how we're gonna do all those trims. That's gonna be the next step. It's all a bit tedious maybe, but if we do this right now, it's gonna save us a lot of headaches later. So I'm still recording. Yes. Let's do this again. I want these side bits to be half the length, or else this middle area would be too thick. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna delete this and delete this, and then take this part, align it here, and then that part, align that as well, and then weld these together. So now it's half the length. Okay, so it does need to be a bit bigger now because of that. It's about this. Please tell me this is sort of 4.5. That will do. Let's make a scale of 5. Like that. And then put that there. Make sure this is still. It's quite light as well. So the next thing we're going to do is add this bit. Let me actually make a screenshot of my reference. Mouse, there we go. Put it in here for now. So you can also see what I'm looking at. I'm going to make these pillars here. It's going to be pretty basic. Okay, Maya, we'll do it your way. I can do them a little more detailed than is necessary, really, but whatever. Move this in a bit. Alright, let's also add this little indent in there, like with the other version, the other gate. Also before that, I don't like this edge loop. It's a bit ugly, so let's add it there. It's a little cleaner. Move that in. Okay, it looks actually a bit different in the reference. So you know what? I'm leaving this for now. It's gonna make that. Okay, so these are all have their proper size and position in the world. Sort of. Okay, they need to be a little bit smaller. That's unfortunate. .5 maybe. They need to stick out a little bit, the wall, not too much. Yeah, something like that. Great. call it arch, arc, not sure how to say it. This one in modular, another piece. And then add half a wall in there. I think actually we don't need this half a height on top of it. It's not in the reference at least. So maybe if we remove these, we can move everything down a bit. But for now I'll leave it. And then we also need a pillar. I'll keep that one fairly simple. Align it. Oh, where did you go? Okay, so that's it. And then make it feel a little bit more like a pillar. I'm going to add a small cube on top. Then also on the bottom, I'm going to take this, center it, remove the caps because they're going to be inside the cubes, scale them down a bit so they don't flip, merge with the cubes. We have our pillar. Again, put one in modular and the other one can be in here, temporary folder. It can be a bit smaller actually. Or should I skew it? Okay. So now you can see that you can make practically this entire, like almost this entire environment out of, wait, sorry, one sec. Out of just these elements. A couple of arches, window piece, a couple of walls, a couple of pillars. It's not that much. Like this, modeling this is not that much work. There's going to be a few more assets, as I said before, a couple more windows, and then a few more detail assets. But these are the big building blocks of this environment. So now I'm wondering, maybe it's an idea to already put this in Unreal. Should I finish the models? Might be just, even if it's just to, how do you say it, as a refresher or as a change of scene, you can put them in Unreal. Geometry is, and a block art folder, and add this in there. So the next thing is gonna just isolate these. Put them all here at 0, 0. Make sure they don't have any history or whatever. Then we're gonna export these. Assets folder. floor piece. Just got gate 1. It should just be gate. Window thin. Great. So now, for the sake of presentation, we can put these back. So I'm going to put this on the side as a reference. And then yeah, then we go in here. This is all fine. Open up the folder. Take all of these. Import them. Great. Dang it. Okay, so the floor. What's wrong with it? Oh, don't tell me all the dang it. Okay, all the pivots were off. Sure, someone watching this video was screaming at me while saving. So yeah, no, it should be fine. I'm sorry for this. Almost done. Yes, okay. Great part about this is now I can just press this button and everything should update. Great, so now everything is correct. Let's drag them all into the scene. Might be a bit easier to work with. Oh. Let's also delete these. Don't need that anymore. Those light blockers. Putting this into the scene so I can full screen works a bit nicer. Just copy them from within the scene that way. So here we have our assets. So this on the side again. All right, so the first couple of pieces are going to be a little bit more difficult maybe, because I'm gonna have to find the right point. So put this on grid now. Put this on 0, 0. How will that go? That's for scaling. Ah, yeah. All right, so that aligns now. Might still have to go into the menu every now and then. Still have to make the staircase as well, I forgot that. I also don't like how in Unreal, if you duplicate something, it's going to offset it slightly. So, luckily by a whole number, so that's something, I guess. Yeah, and because we thought about a modularity, it all just fits, which is great. Well, except this duplication issue where it offsets it. It's a bit unfortunate, but yeah, look, now it's, I don't have to worry about, maybe there's an option where I can disable that. I think it's doing it so there are no hidden duplicated objects in the exact same position. So you know, like, oh, there's another object. But yeah. So now every time I duplicate, I'm trying to align it with the original object. Dragging also works. It's a bit nicer to work with actually. It doesn't add that weird offset. And then another half a wall. Yeah, and doing all the pre-work makes this such nicer to work with. It makes it a lot nicer to work with. A lot easier. I've had projects where things didn't use whole numbers and it's such a pain. Like you constantly have to like vertex snap in an Unreal. It's not the ideal program to do so. This one has to go a bit back. Yeah, like that. So at this point, I would just put this video in the background while you work on something. That's what I do usually with these kind of videos. It's, speed of progress is slowly slowing down. Hopefully not too slow, obviously, but yeah. Ooh, this is... Oh yeah, anyways, I wanted to lower the staircase anyway, so it's not a big deal. Strip this fellow. You center it. So that's that. Next wall. It's going a lot quicker than in Maya because it's all these assets are finished. Okay, I'm a little bit annoyed by this because when I put them in the scene, I had grid snap off. So let's put them all at 0. It's going to save me a headache of having to do this every time. Yeah, okay. Now a couple normal walls. Actually, like this. Here you can see what I mean with UVs. These half walls don't align well. Like this would happen with if we're gonna add textures to this. This is why it's important that your walls are square. These are not square, and so the UVs don't align with as well. But it's not going to be a big issue. Because for the big tileable textures, I'm going to use Triplanar most likely, as I've said before a couple times now. It should deal with that issue, but if you don't want to use that, you just want to use normal textures, then that's something you might have to take into account. So that's that wall. It's also this one in there. Oh, that's fine. It's the wrong side. Now, the thing I want to mention is I want to stress the importance of working in Engine as fast and as much as possible, because in Engine is where you'll make your renders. That's what the player will see. So if it doesn't work in Engine, something's wrong. If it does work in Maya but it doesn't work in Engine, that doesn't matter. This one's gonna go to the back a little bit, so we're not 100% the grid. I'm gonna take our fancy pillar. Put you there for now. Oh yeah, there's indeed. Oops. There's indeed a bit of an offset there. Let's fix that. Alrighty. We can go. Great, so all fixed. This one goes there. I think it needs to go a bit more to the back. Oh yeah, that's right. This one's going to be offset a bit. So first, let's add a wall piece. And take these, move the grid, and then move them back a little bit. What's really nice about this modular way, it's really easy to like adjust certain things in your scene. If you're like, you know what, I want to move this back a little bit. It's not much. It's not a big deal. Which I might actually do for that little step down here, but I'm not sure yet. So it'll get there. What's causing that? Oh, these are misaligned. Not these two, dang it. Don't know how that happens. Okay, it's all fixed now. I think one more. So now it's all perfect again. Oh yeah, this wall again. We're just gonna, yeah. Just gonna follow what we did on Maya. So I'm taking a wall piece. I'm just gonna continue here. What's causing these imperfections? It's starting to frustrate me. It's 960. Even though I have this on whole numbers through. That's weird. Okay then. Just continue. Wait, they're overlapping? Overlapping here too? How? Okay, so those are in place now. Okay, so these are actually quite a bit offset. That goes there. I think. We're getting there. It's almost done. All right, so that's supposed to be a half one. They're not quite perfect again. 459. 549. 594. It's just let's put it on 600. Oh. And then we need a door. So I'm checking how these fit together. Something like that. And Maya, these I made it so these align. Not sure how I did it though. Guess I could just do it like that. And then another one on this side. Okay, these gates now are next. I think these go here. And then we had the pillar going between there. Yes. I'll take a door. So there's also a door here. Okay. Still a few imperfections somehow, I'm not quite sure what's causing them. But it doesn't really matter. It still sort of works. Properties, almost done. Let's turn this off for a moment. I think I have to move these backwards a bit. Yeah, it's like this over here. Doesn't make sense with that area. I think this whole wall has to move over a little bit. Checking reference. Yeah, indeed, like this whole wall needs to move. Right, so that also makes sense now. Now we can add the top part of that wall. That, and then copy them. This needs to be higher up, actually. If you got to add this. You know, this could have been actually a large one as well, now that I look at it. And then one more here. Close this off. and then one final row on top of here. So yeah, this episode doesn't have as many lessons or things to discuss as the last one, unfortunately. But yeah, it's still important, and it's a bit more of a grind, but it's yeah, as I said, it's an important step. Like the better you plan these early stages of development, the easier your life is going to be later on. Okay, so now we have to center these for the windows later. And then last but definitely not least, we need to add in the floor. Let's also group these assets on walls. We don't have a third-person actor in this project, so we can walk around. We can add that for the next episode, maybe. Goes there. Great. So I think that's it. That's all the wall bits. Delete those. Final fixes. Real quick. Oop. Save the project. And there we go. Yeah, we still need to add the chairs, the stairs, little wall thing over there. But we now got the main walls in there, and it's all modular, which is excellent. Yeah, I'm happy with it. So it's a long way to go still, but this is great. So this recording is almost 2 hours. It's already 2 hours, dang. So to finish this off, I'm gonna add some stairs, and then I'm gonna make the windows off camera, so that in the next episode we can focus on I think on modeling the assets, and then maybe also planning out our textures. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. So, take this with me again. There. Curious. It sort of ends right in front of the door here. Right. I count 1, 2, 3, 4. I count 5. Oh wait. This actually goes up here, and then there's this little. There's this little extended bit over here. Can't really see it because it's oh. You can see it because it's covered by characters. Oh wait. Whoops. Should be here. Something like that. Let's quickly clean it up. So this all quads now. Closing up one triangle. Let's extend this one. Right, that goes there. So now we quickly import it. Put it here. Right, so it's a little, it's a bit, yeah, it's pretty sloppy, but that's the job. There's also going to be a couple more pillars here. We'll temporarily these there like that. This needs to move over. It's not quite in the center. So snapping like that. So now there's also the stairs in there. To remove the ugly UVs at the moment, we can put it on detail lighting, so it looks a bit more uniform. There's still a few things we need to do. Like these trim edges, they're going to be there as well, and there we need to add those. There's going to be a bunch of windows still, but the base is here. You can walk around in it, and yeah. I think I'm gonna end the recording here for today. I'm gonna finish off the other blockout elements off screen, and then I'll go over what I've done in between recordings at the start of the next episode. I hope that was informative. It was a little slower and longer than last time, but yeah, we did make a lot of progress. So with that, I'm gonna end the recording and see you next one.